Women have changed the course of history time and again. What some women do at the most critical moments changes everything. Women's decision-making, style, abilities, and intuition are quite different from men's. Sometimes this difference can lead to a big change. The story of a female soldier in the Ukrainian army surprises everyone. The heroic soldier has become a great symbol in Ukraine. Now the whole world will talk about this heroic woman. As Anka Daily News team, we have compiled what this heroic woman has done for you. You can support our team who has worked for a long time to prepare this news. By supporting independent journalism, you can ensure that such news will continue. You can use the super thanks button below the video. Now let's talk about this hero story that is never commonly donkey is revealed. Many armies around the world do not have any female soldiers. However, developed countries now include women soldiers in their armies because the special skills of women soldiers increase the combat capability of armies. Women soldiers in the Ukrainian army are among the best examples of this. Ukrainian women soldiers became a nightmare for the Russian army. There are currently 60,000 female soldiers in the Ukrainian army. 5,000 of these soldiers are active in the war zone. Evgeny Emerald is considered the most successful female soldier in the Ukrainian army. A very good sniper, Emerald managed to hit 5 targets with 5 bullets. Let's get to know Emerald a little more before we tell you the details of this event. Ever since she was a child, Emerald was different from her friends. While her peers played with dolls, she played with toy guns. She climbed trees and ran very fast. She had an athletic body. This attracted the attention of her father. He wanted a boy very much so. He raised Emerald like a boy. He wanted her to always be a fighter. When Emerald was 9 years old, she went hunting with her father. He gave her a gun. Emerald was like a pro when she held the very heavy shotgun. She started shooting at the targets her father pointed out. Emerald was so accurate that her father was amazed. Today, 23 years later, Emerald is recognized as the most successful sniper in the Ukrainian army. This is not Emerald's only talent. A very successful student, Emerald, graduate from Terrorist Springfield National University in Kiev with a degree in law, psychology, and public policy. Soon after, she got married and gave birth to a child, Jacqueline. She was now a mother. 2 years later, she divorced her husband. This year was very difficult for her because Putin had decided to invade Crimea. Emerald wanted to join the army to protect the territorial integrity of her country, but she was not accepted because she had a child under 3 years old. During these years, Emerald was interested in being a good mother to her child and doing business. But in 2022, her life changed completely. After Russia invaded Ukraine, Emerald closed all her businesses and decided to join the army. She left her daughter with her grandmother and went to the front. She started serving in Zaporizhia. She was very successful during this mission, but she experienced very risky operations. When the fighting between the Russian army and the Ukrainian army flared up in the city, Emerald went up to high points and killed Russian soldiers one by one. Emerald managed to shoot Russian soldiers in the neck. This is a very difficult for a sniper. Russia's soldiers wear helmets and steel armor so they can withstand bullets to their body and head. But there is no armor to protect their necks. That's why Emerald targets the necks of the Russian soldiers. Emerald successfully takes these shots, which were very difficult for all snipers in the Zaporizhia region. They were very close range clashes between the Ukrainian army and the Russian army. In one of these clashes, the Russian army launched an attack with a very large group. However, the Ukrainian army showed great resistance against this attack. The Russian army suffered with heavy losses. Ukrainian soldiers returned to their military bases after this operation. But Emerald did not leave his trench. After a while, she noticed 5 Russian soldiers sneaking up. These Russian soldiers had many bombs in their hands. One of the soldiers was carrying a rocket. 5 Russian soldiers were planning to bomb the Ukrainian base. Ukrainian soldiers did not expect such an attack. If this attack had happened, many Ukrainian soldiers would have died. Emerald was alone against 5 Russian soldiers. She had to do something before the Russian soldiers noticed her. But there was a problem. Emerald had only 5 bullets left. She knew that if she didn't hit one of the targets, she would die. She could still manage to foil the Russian soldiers' operation. She risked her own life to save the lives of her friends. First, she targeted a Russian soldier carrying a rocket. She watched him through her binoculars. As soon as the Russian soldier stepped out into the open, she fired. She managed to kill the Russian soldier by hitting him in the neck with the first shot. Meanwhile, the Russian soldiers panicked and fled to different areas. This made Emerald's job easier. The Russian soldiers were trying to figure out where the fire was coming from. Emerald acted very quickly and fired at another Russian soldier, and she was successful. Now, there were 3 Russian soldiers left. The Russian soldiers were experiencing the most terrifying moments of their lives. One soldier saw where Emerald was firing from, but the Russian soldiers' weapons did not have sniper scopes. This gave Emerald a huge advantage. She outran the Russian soldier and managed to kill him too. The 2 remaining Russian soldiers were in great despair. Emerald thought that they might surrender. She waited for a while, but the Russian soldiers did not come out of their trenches. After a while, one of the Russian soldiers tried to crawl out of the trench. Emerald, who was waiting, shot this soldier too. But this soldier was not killed. He was seriously wounded. Emerald looked through her binoculars and saw that this soldier could move his hands. As he turned his head to look at the other soldier, he saw something. The only remaining soldier was trying to run away. Emerald shot this soldier too, but the bullet hit him in the shoulder, not in the neck. The Russian soldier kept running wounded. Emerald had no bullets left, but she used her binoculars again to check the Russian soldier on the front line. She realized that the badly wounded Russian soldier was dead. Emerald managed to hit all 5 targets with 5 bullets. 5 Russian soldiers died and 1 soldier escaped wounded. After this operation, Emerald's success became the talk of the troops. Soon, the Ukrainian press also started to report about Emerald. Emerald became one of the most talked about people in Ukraine. Journalists in the Ukrainian press think that Zelensky may very soon pin a medal on Emerald. The most valuable official decoration in Ukraine is the Hero of Ukraine award. Emerald is expected to receive this award at a special ceremony. Emerald heroism gives courage to all women in Ukraine. The Ukrainian people are united even more thanks to these heroic stories. Emerald is recognized as a symbol of resistance for all women in Ukraine. Who lost quiet to you? Remain calm. What do you think about the Ukrainian women's achievement? What do you think about Emerald's courage? How do you think women soldiers could change the course of the war? What do you think about Emerald being awarded a medal? Don't forget to share your thoughts with us. Follow us for more updates. Thank you for watching us. The following are comments from the audience. The day started with yet another storm, shadow precision strike on the Russian military objects in Luhansk. The target of today's precision strike became a dormitory on the territory of the former aviation academy, meaning Ukrainians targeted the areas of Russian forces concentrations. Local residents reported hearing 2 strikes, and the first one was without an explosion. This indicates that Ukrainians continue using AGM-160 decoy missiles to trick the Russian air defense, which proves to work. Russian officials reported that the building was empty. However, even the most prominent Russian sources doubt that Ukrainians are using their most advanced and scarce weapon to hit empty buildings 6 times in a row. There is also a huge discussion as to why Ukrainians started from Luhansk. As everyone expected, Ukrainians to unleash this new weapon on Crimea. The biggest reason is that Russians in Donbass can adapt to the strength the fastest. All they need to do is pull back by 20 kilometers into the Russian territory, and Ukrainians will not be able to reach them because, for political reasons, it was agreed not to use long-range missiles to hit Russian territories. On the other hand, Russians in Zaporizhia and Crimea cannot just move 20 kilometers back to hide from the missiles. The supply shoulder is already extremely long, so Russians must keep their command centers, barracks and ammunition depots where they are, in spite of the imminent strikes. So starting from Luhansk ensures that Ukrainians can inflict more damage to Russian forces in the long run. Today, Russian officials also confirmed that Ukrainians conducted a successful drone attack on the Russian military objects in the Bryansk region. As a result, Ukrainians destroyed or damaged at least 5 pieces of equipment. A lot of news is also coming from the Bakhmut direction. After clearing the forest, the Ukrainians started to ramp up their artillery preparation. A lot of Ukrainian fighters from multiple assault detachments were reported about preparation for storming operation of the next positions on the line south of Ivanovsky. There are a lot of small roads along the tree lines where Russians have prepared a lot of trenches. Recently released footage shows how Ukrainians are using Air-77 to shoot a 70-meter-wide explosive charge to clear the whole trench network in one big explosion. But Ukrainians are shelling not only the first, but also second and third lines. The goal of this deeper strikes is to destroy the enemy reserves and create disarray in their supplies. Ukrainian aerial reconnaissance has already started clearing Kodama. A recent video shows how Ukrainians found and destroyed the Russian air defense system. When it comes to the city itself, there have been a lot of changes over the last 7 days. Last time I told you that Russian forces managed to penetrate Ukrainian defense from the northeast and establish control over the outer building, which Ukrainians blew up from a distance. After several days of shelling Ukrainian positions with incendiary munitions and setting the whole western residential area on fire, Russian forces managed to undermine Ukrainian defense as their new target became buildings located along Levanevsky Street. Ukrainians tried to use their tanks to chase Wagner troops from the high-rise buildings. But with such big fortifications, this tactic did not work as well and only slowed down the Russian advance by inflicting a lot of losses. Over the last 2 days, Wagner forces managed to develop their bridgehead even more and reportedly establish control over the local supermarket. A fighter from the 24th Assault Brigade reported that Russians also established positions around school number 12 in the southern part of the region. The situation is more stable. Ukrainians continue controlling Tchaikovsky Street and firing at Russian positions in the Industrial College. The main goal of the Russians here was to penetrate Ukrainian positions past the college and hit the citadel from the back. However, they got stuck and continued to lose men in an attempt to cross the street. Overall, while Ukrainians on the flanks are slowly engulfing Bakhmut from 2 sides, Ukrainians inside the city continue drawing Russian forces on themselves. The main goal here is to push Russians to the point of no return, where even if they establish full control over the city, it would be a very sore victory as they would find themselves in a pocket. The operation is quite risky and there are several formidable fortifications on the way, namely in Kishka. The good news is that Ukrainians will be storming them from the highlands, which simplifies the task significantly. The head of the eastern group of forces once again arrived in the Bakhmut direction, and it's been speculated that he arrived with instructions for the second phase of the Bakhmut counter-encirclement operation.